So everyone, welcome back to Slave Like Zinc's YouTube channel. Here with me once again is Rich. We've been sitting here having a little dialogue about the base metal market and potentially what could happen with it, especially with China. China is kind of like the epicenter of this, and Rich is kind of interpreting that if China is healing, we could be in for a good time in terms of base metals. So can you kind of hop in on there, Rich, and tell me your thoughts?
Sure, Michael. Dr. Copper, it's overused, it's overworked, it's overdone, but it's still basically the truth when it comes to the base metals. And what we saw in copper, having traded a little bit under $2 a couple of weeks ago, has not just recovered, but is starting to look to me like it's having put a bottom in, and that's predicated on the recovery in China. If China doesn't slide back into a second COVID crisis where the economy is shut down again, then the slow returning of the Chinese economy has facilitated the base in copper. If the base is in copper, the base is in zinc, the base is in lead, the other base metals will have based as well. I stick my neck out, I say copper's done that. The other thing from a technical standpoint, if people are less interested in that, is that the prices of the metals, the setbacks, if you will, the days that we're not dropping as hard or as far, and the days that we're recovering are recovering a little better and a little stronger, especially in copper. So you've got higher lows effectively seeming to be inherent in the market at this point.
Good point.
So that sets up very nicely for us going forward here, because as I mentioned to you as well, within all the problems inherent with the COVID situation, for example, 6.6 million unemployed as of this morning in the USA. As we talked before, the infrastructure idea is starting to take stronger and stronger hold, down there, and zinc's a huge component of infrastructure. So, going forward, I think the metals are going to start doing better and better once certainly we get across the hump in other places besides just China.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's always interesting to talk to you about this because you have the huge commodities background, right? So you're able to analyze this stuff on a micro and a macro level. And so you said copper is kind of the big daddy when it comes to it. You kind of watch copper, and that'll
Sure.
kind of tell you what just about everything's going to do. And as long as China seems to have some good level of recovery here, we're hoping not for a re-outbreak or anything like that. It seems like 2020 and into 2021 is going to be a great year for zinc, a great year for all the metals.
Exactly. And, that strength is going to become stronger and stronger. Over the last several weeks, several mine operations that were, marginal, in better times, if you will, are quickly shuttering and closing their doors because they're simply just, aren't economic at this point. And to fight against the higher costs of transportation, or the higher costs of doing things, isn't worth it for those operations. So, ultimately the marketplace takes care of the weak, and the weak are falling, it seems to me, are kind of falling into the buy at this point as well. So, they're not going to turn back on and start up again, just because zinc has gone up 15 cents or just because copper's back at 240. Those smaller operations are, a long way from participating again in the market. And so prices are very much looking to me like they can be much higher in the months to come.
Good point. Yeah, because as you had said, we had talked about that in a previous video as well, that as these smaller ones, they fall into the red and then they can't sustain something really big like this happens, they shut down. So then they shut down, and then the demand for the base metal still goes back up once everything's over. And now there's less supply, less people pumping it out, which means companies like Slave Lake they're planning on continuing through. There's room for them to grow now, right? Like it's less cramped.
Absolutely. And, with our grades and with our potential, and as we're developing our other areas with the communities and so on, our prospects frankly look better and better. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a tough time for us as a company because we're doing our best to also keep ourselves in line. But I mean, the future is looking brighter and brighter. And that, I know that sounds maybe a little counterintuitive to the people that are dealing with the COVID stuff and all the rest of that. But the reality is that, we're going to have everything recover and the world will get back to some level of normalcy. And when it does, the base metals specifically are going to, I think, do very, very well.
Yeah, agreed. It's not going to be a quick, hey, everything's great again. And unfortunately, there will be some loss of life here, and I do feel for them. But also, it's not a bad thing to say everything's going to be okay, and we're going to come out of this on the other side. I mean, we got vaccines being worked on by every country in the world now. We have people putting together ideas that they're working on popping up more ventilators, more beds. You have teams and teams of scientists and corporations coming up with endless numbers, talking about different scenarios. Like, we're in this to win this. We're going to come out on the other side, and we will have an economic recovery on the other side as well.
Absolutely. To just throw in one point as to how correct you are, the development of a 15-minute test, the level of science that had to go into that as quickly as that's happened, is staggering. And not just comparing, against years past or FDA problems or other, whether it's in Europe, their government groups that authorize, but to develop a test that quickly, other things are in the wings and they're going to come along, and we are going to beat it. We're going to beat it with science. That's the way you beat back this type of thing.
Agreed. I think it's became popular to bet against humanity, right? But never bet against humanity, because we've came out of everything. We've came out of the Spanish flu, we've come out of the bubonic plague. Like, we might get a little lackadaisical sometimes, but at the end of the day, have faith in us, right? We'll get it
Absolutely.
done.
Mike, you tell me, Mike, over the last couple of weeks, how many people are nicer to you than what you normally would expect?
Yeah, it's more. Now, to be fair, you got some people who look at you crazy as they're walking past because they're scared to get near you.
Sure. Yeah, but the paranoid just do float quicker to the surface. Absolutely.
Yeah. But you're right. You're right that the majority of people are kind of taking into consideration that, hey, we are all in this together. We are all a family, and we also take care of the ones who need the most help, because we are only as strong as our weakest link. But here we are. We're continuing on, and we're getting it done. So, Rich, anything else you want to offer people before we sign off today?
No, Michael, that's great. And, good on you for keeping the positive attitude too, my friends. So thank you.
Thank you, Rich. You have a great day.
All right, man. Take care.